Hello, everyone. Imagine you're standing barefoot in your kitchen. The room temperature is perfectly comfortable. Maybe it's 72 degrees Fahrenheit, around 22 degrees Celsius. You place one foot on a wooden floor, then you step onto a ceramic tile. The tile feels dramatically colder. But here's the strange part. If we measured both surfaces with an accurate thermometer, we'd discover they're almost exactly the same temperature. So why does one feel cold and the other feel warm? Now let's make the mystery even stranger. Walk into a clothing store in the middle of summer. You touch a thick cotton sweatshirt. Then you touch a sleek athletic shirt marketed as cooling. Instantly, the athletic shirt feels colder. Yet both garments have been hanging in the same room for days. No hidden air conditioner, no refrigeration, no trickery, just physics. And that simple experience opens the door to one of the most fascinating intersections of human biology, thermodynamics, material science, and textile engineering. Today, we're exploring why some fabrics feel icy cold the moment they touch your skin, why others feel warm and cozy, and how scientists are engineering clothing that can manipulate heat itself. By the end, you'll never look at your bed sheets, workout clothes, or your favorite hoodie the same way again. Let's begin with a surprising fact. Humans do not directly sense temperature. That sounds impossible. After all, you know when something is hot. You know when something is cold. Surely you're measuring temperature somehow. Not exactly. What your nervous system actually detects is the movement of thermal energy. In other words, your brain doesn't care what temperature an object is. It cares how fast heat is moving. That's a huge distinction. Think about your skin. Most of the time, your skin sits somewhere around 91 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, roughly 33 to 35 degrees Celsius. Your body is constantly producing heat. Every heartbeat, every breath, every muscle contraction, every cell in your body is acting like a microscopic furnace. That means your body is almost always trying to get rid of excess heat. Whenever you touch something cooler than yourself, thermal energy naturally flows outward. Heat always moves from warmer objects to cooler objects. It's one of the most fundamental rules of thermodynamics. Your nervous system measures the speed of that transfer. Fast heat loss feels cold. Slow heat loss feels neutral. Heat gain feels warm. Rapid heat gain feels hot. The sensation of temperature is actually your brain interpreting energy flow, not temperature itself. Scientists often demonstrate this phenomenon using three bowls of water. One bowl contains cold water, one contains warm water, one contains room temperature water. Place your left hand in the cold bowl. Place your right hand in the warm bowl. Wait a minute. Then place both hands in the room temperature bowl. The same water feels warm to one hand and cold to the other. How can one temperature feel like two different temperatures simultaneously? Because your sensory system is measuring change, not absolute temperature. Temperature perception is relative. Your brain is making educated guesses based on thermal energy flow. And that same principle explains why fabrics feel cool. Now we meet one of the most important concepts in textile science, thermal effusivity. It sounds intimidating, but the idea is surprisingly simple. Thermal effusivity measures how effectively a material exchanges heat with another material. Think of it as thermal appetite. Some materials are hungry for heat, others are not. Imagine placing a spoon and a foam cup in the same room overnight. The next morning, both are exactly the same temperature. Touch the spoon, cold. Touch the foam, warm. The spoon isn't colder. It's simply much better at pulling heat from your skin. The spoon has high thermal effusivity. The foam has low thermal effusivity. One steals heat aggressively, the other barely steals any at all. Your brain interprets that difference as temperature. In reality, it's a difference in heat transfer speed. Metals are thermal superhighways. Their atomic structures allow energy to move rapidly. The heat from your fingertips immediately disperses throughout the metal. Because the energy keeps flowing away, your skin continues losing heat. Your nervous system interprets this rapid loss as cold. This is why grabbing a metal handrail in winter feels shocking. It's also why cool touch fabrics try to mimic some aspects of metal without actually being metal. The goal isn't lowering temperature. The goal is increasing heat transfer. That's a very important distinction. The best cooling fabrics aren't necessarily colder. They're better at convincing your brain they're colder. Humans have been fighting heat for thousands of years, long before air conditioning, long before electric fans, long before synthetic fibers. Ancient civilizations already understood that certain textiles felt cooler than others. In ancient Egypt, linen became the fabric of choice. Why? Linen fibers are smooth. They allow airflow, they absorb moisture efficiently, and they dry relatively quickly. The result was clothing that felt significantly cooler than heavier alternatives. In hot regions across the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Asia, lightweight woven fabrics became critical survival technology. Clothing wasn't just fashion, it was climate control. The challenge became even more important during the Industrial Revolution. Factories introduced new synthetic fibers. Scientists realized they could engineer textiles rather than simply harvest them. By the mid 20th century, textile engineering transformed from an art into a science. Researchers began studying exactly how fibers transferred heat, how they handle sweat, how they interact with the skin, and eventually how they could be designed to create specific thermal sensations. The modern cooling shirt is the result of decades of scientific experimentation. The first ingredient in cooling performance is the material itself. Different fibers conduct heat differently. Let's start with cotton. Cotton feels comfortable because it's breathable and soft. But cotton isn't especially good at transporting heat. Its structure traps air, and trapped air is an excellent insulator. This is why cotton can feel cozy. Wool goes even further. Wool fibers contain microscopic crimps. Those crimps trap even more air. The result is excellent insulation. That's fantastic during winter. Not so fantastic during a marathon. Now consider nylon. Nylon's molecular structure transfers heat more efficiently. When nylon contacts your skin, thermal energy moves away faster. That means stronger cooling sensations. This is one reason many athletic garments contain large amounts of nylon. Polyester can be engineered for enhanced thermal performance. Manufacturers modify polymer structures, fiber diameters, and cross-sectional shapes to optimize cooling characteristics. Here's where things become fascinating. Some cooling fabrics contain actual minerals, tiny particles of jade, mica, ceramics, titanium compounds. These particles are blended directly into synthetic fibers during manufacturing. Imagine adding microscopic heat highways throughout the fabric. Instead of forcing heat to wander through the textile, these additives create faster routes. The result is greater thermal conductivity and stronger cool touch sensations. Many premium bedding products use this approach. Some athletic brands use it as well. The science sounds futuristic, but it's already sitting in closets around the world. Materials matter, but structure may matter even more. Imagine touching a fluffy blanket. Your skin contacts only a tiny fracture of the fibers. Most of what you're actually touching is trapped air. Air acts as a thermal buffer. Heat transfers slows dramatically. Now imagine touching satin or a smooth athletic shirt. Much more of your skin is making direct contact. Heat transfer increases. Cooling sensation increases. Surface area changes everything engineers have learned to manipulate fiber geometry. Many modern fibers aren't round. Instead, they're shaped like stars, crosses, triangles, Y shapes, multi-channel structures. Why? Surface area. More surface area creates more opportunities for heat and moisture transfer. The fabric becomes a better thermal exchanger. Think of a car radiator. The radiator works because it exposes huge amounts of surface area to airflow. Cooling fabrics operate on the same principle. The more contact points available, the more efficiently heat can move. Cooling fabrics are often exceptionally smooth. The smoothness serves two purposes. First, it increases contact with skin. Second, it creates psychological effects. Research suggests our brains partially associate smooth surfaces with cooling experiences. Water is smooth, metal is smooth, ice is smooth. Rough textures often feel warmer. Texture influences perception almost as much as temperature itself. Your brain is remarkably easy to trick, and textile engineers know it. Now, we arrive at the most powerful cooling mechanism in existence: evaporation. Nothing in your wardrobe pulls you more effectively than sweat evaporation. Not minerals, not fancy fibers, not graphene, not cooling gels. Evaporation is king. Every time sweat evaporates, it absorbs enormous amounts of energy. That energy comes from your body, which means your body cools down. That This process is so effective that humans became one of Earth's greatest endurance species. Our ability to sweat helped us outrun many animals over long distances. Not because we're fast, because we're efficient heat managers. Cotton absorbs sweat beautifully, but it struggles to release it. The moisture remains trapped. The fabric becomes heavy, wet, sticky. The cooling process slows. Athletic fabrics solve this differently. Instead of absorbing moisture deeply, they spread it across a larger surface. This process is called wicking. Moisture moves through microscopic channels. The sweat spreads out, surface area increases, evaporation accelerates. Cooling improves. This is why a runner wearing modern performance apparel often remains more comfortable than someone wearing a soaked cotton shirt. The fabric isn't creating cold. It's helping the body use its own cooling system more efficiently. Now let's talk about some truly futuristic technologies. Phase change materials, or PCMs. These materials store thermal energy during phase transitions. Think of ice melting. Ice can absorb huge amounts of heat without changing temperature very much. Scientists realized they could replicate this phenomenon in textiles. Tiny capsules containing special waxes are embedded into fabrics. When your body heats up, the wax absorbs thermal energy and melts. The melting process consumes heat. You feel cooler. Later, when temperatures drop, the material solidifies and releases stored heat. The fabric becomes a tiny rechargeable thermal battery. Then there's graphene, a single layer of carbon atoms arranged in a honeycomb lattice. Graphene is one of the most thermally conductive materials ever discovered. Researchers are experimenting with graphene enhanced textiles capable of moving heat with extraordinary efficiency. Some prototypes can actively radiate body heat into the environment. Others can distribute heat across larger areas to eliminate hotspots. We're beginning to see clothing evolve beyond passive insulation. Clothing is becoming an active thermal management system. Now, for a reality check. Not all cooling products are equally effective. Many products advertise cooling sensations based solely on initial touch. This phenomenon is often measured using a value called Qmax. Qmax quantifies how much heat leaves your skin immediately after contact. Higher Qmax means stronger initial cooling. That's the wow moment when you first touch the fabric. But Qmax says very little about what happens 30 minutes later or 3 hours later. A bedsheet can score extremely high on Qmax and still sleep hot overnight. Why? Because sustained cooling depends on airflow, moisture transport, humidity management, and environmental conditions. Many consumers confuse instant cooling with long-term cooling. The textile industry knows this. That's why understanding the science matters. As global temperatures rise, cooling textiles are becoming more than luxury products. They may become essential technologies. Scientists are developing fabrics that automatically open microscopic pores when temperature increases. Others use shape memory polymers that change structure depending on environmental conditions. Some experimental fabrics can reflect sunlight while simultaneously radiating body heat into outer space through infrared wavelengths. That sounds impossible, but it works. Researchers call this radiative cooling. The textile effectively dumps heat into the sky. No electricity required, no batteries required, just physics. Imagine clothing that keeps you comfortable in extreme heat while reducing reliance on air conditioning. That's not science fiction. It's an active area of research today. So the next time you slip into a cooling shirt, lie down on cooling sheets, or feel that instant chill from a piece of athletic apparel, remember what's really happening. The fabric isn't producing cold. It's orchestrating a carefully engineered transfer of energy. It's manipulating thermal conductivity, thermal effusivity, surface geometry, moisture transport, evaporation, and even the psychology of human perception. What feels like a simple sensation is actually the result of centuries of textile innovation and some of the deepest principles in physics. The story of cool touch fabrics isn't really about clothing, it's about how humans learn to control heat itself. And as the world grows warmer, the ability may become one of the most important technologies we wear every day. Thanks for listening and stay cool.